Shalom. So, I am trying something very new, and I'm trying a lot of new software. And um, I have set up a Discord server, and anybody is welcome to go ahead and join it. Although I must say, I'm not the best at Discord, so I'm not particularly sure that it's working correctly, but I will definitely try. Let me just make sure that there's nobody waiting. There is somebody waiting. Okay. So. Let me just let him know. Room 4. Okay, so 2 people are in the voice chat. Well, hopefully 1.5 people, 2 people soon. And hopefully the people who are viewing online can hear me. If you cannot, please do say something. Let me see if people are hearing me. Can you hear me? Hello? Well, I am going to guess that people can, in fact, hear me. And I am going to go ahead and start. So, if you listened to my little interview with Paul Vanderklay, I told this story already, but it's one of my favorite stories, so I really like to tell it. My father told me that, so this psalm, Psalm 121, is, it's actually, we recite it in the evening prayers. It's the only psalm we recite in the evening prayers. Great, somebody is hearing me. And the, and so my father told me that he was always bothered with the line that further comes on later, which says that the sun shall not harm you during the day and the moon at night. And that always didn't make sense to him because he didn't really understand how you could be hurt by the moon at night. And when he was trying to escape from Iran, he had to cross the border on foot. He was sleeping during the days, and they were walking nights. I believe it was a 3-day trek through the mountains between Iran and Turkey. And my father said that the night that they got to the border, he was on a hill, and he was looking towards the hill on the other side was Turkey, and the ravine is what they had to cross, which was the actual border. And that's it was a full moon that night. And in Los Angeles, we never have this, but in other places, a full moon where out in the middle of nowhere, that really looks, it looks pretty bright. You feel like you can see anything. And he said it felt like it was day. And so he remembered this psalm, and he started reciting it. And so that's what I think of when I recite this psalm. And I have that image of my father. And he had been caught trying to leave the country once before, and had gone to prison, and had been convicted as a Zionist spy, which we were afraid they were going to execute him. And so getting caught a second time was certainly a life and death situation, I would say. So, Psalm 121. Shir lama'alot esa enai el haharim me'ayin yavo ezri. So, the Psalms, in the Hebrew, oftentimes start with a sort of note to, because the Psalms were used in the temple, and the note here is Shir lama'alot. So Shir is one of the three roots in Hebrew for songs. So psalm itself, we say tehillah, right? And that's the root there is hey lamed lamed. Zemer, so zemirot, is zayin mem resh, and this is shin yud resh, which is also used for poems. So this is a shir, lama'alot. So I actually looked at the Rashi's on this before, and he makes a distinction. Well, he found a note that makes a distinction here. The lamed is a prepositional lamed. So this is not in construct form. There are other psalms which starts shir hama'alot with a hey, and those are in construct form. So while a song of ascents is correct, actually Chabad translated this a song for ascents or to ascents, kind of to let you know that this isn't like the other ones which are in construct form. Just as a review, because I know some people are listening for the first time, in Hebrew there's a construct form where two or more words will form a chain in which they are kind of, it's a new idea, and oftentimes that gets translated with an of in the middle of it. So this is not a construct, it's not in smichut. Okay, so that's the note. And ma'alot comes from the root ayin lamed he, which means to rise, right? Aliyah is to move to Israel. So, but a mala is a step, and shila ma'alot, generally the idea is that when the Levim would climb the steps to accompany the sacrifices with song, this was apparently one of them. And actually Rashi notes that this in some of the books he has is actually the second psalm, not the 121st one, because obviously there was no real numbering before it became standardized. Okay, Esa Einai El Haharim. So Esa is it is in the first person common singular imperfect of the kal, which is the simple form of the root here is nun sin aleph, which also means to raise up. It can also be kind of like a flag. So when we talk about eyes, raising eyes, we usually use this root nun samech aleph, and the nun disappears here because it's a bit irregular. Einai, my eyes. Eini would be my eye. Einai is my eyes, first person collective singular. El is the preposition with the aleph, not ayin, which they're very similar. The one with the ayin is usually upon, and the one with the aleph is usually to. They're slightly different if you're paying attention. He harim, so the first letter he is the article. Oh, I didn't mention that the article here for the ascents, so it does have the article here, and that's in the vocalization, not in the consonants. So when you write Hebrew, you write only the consonants generally, and the vocalizations and cantillations were created by the Masoretes many years later in order to record the tradition so it wouldn't be forgotten. So while we have that in the Masoretic text, that there is an article there, the consonantal text doesn't actually have it, in case you're trying to read. And generally in Jewish exegesis, it's considered perfectly fine to vocalize outside the tradition if it does not contradict the tradition. You obviously can't contradict the tradition itself, but you can also have other meanings, secondary meanings, based on the vocalization and cantillation being different. Okay, He Harim, so He is the article there, Har means mount or hill. There isn't really a big difference in Hebrew between a mountain and a hill. Harim is hills in the plural. Me'ayin, so this is a prepositional mem, which usually translates as from. Ayin literally means nothing, but here it's the interrogatory where, right? Me'ayin. Yavo, the root here is bet vav aleph, and this is, again, in the imperfect. So the imperfect is the future form in Hebrew. We have the perfect for completed actions, which is past tense. We have the participle for current actions, and we have the imperfect for ongoing or yet incomplete actions. So that's the future form, and the fourth form is the command form. So this, and oftentimes the future is also, the imperfect is often used as a command. Here, this is the actual imperfect. So yavo, the root is bet vava aleph, and this is in the third person masculine singular. So will come. Ezri, so the root is ayin zayin resh, which means to help, like Ezra. So Ezri is my help. That's first person common singular. Okay, let's see. King James. So King James usually omits the actual, the little note up there, and NIV will put it in kind of bold as there. In the Hebrew, it's considered one of the verses. So King James, I will lift mine eyes onto the hills, from whence cometh my help. And NIV, a song of ascent. I lift up my eyes to the mountains. So whether hills or mountains, it's the same word. Where does my help come from? Again, these are in the imperfect tense. You can translate it in the present tense, but it really does have a future thing. So so Chabad seems to be going more that way. A song for ascents, because of the Lamed, I shall raise my eyes to the mountains. From where will my help come? And you can read the Rashis if you like. Okay, next verse. And if anybody has any questions, please feel free either in the chat or in the Discord chat, or if you are on the Discord, please feel free to chime up as you like. I hope that's easy for you to do. Okay, Ezri me'im havaya oseh shamayim va'aretz. So, again, exact same word, Ezri, my help. And they're assuming the verb there because there is no verb here, which often happens in the Hebrew, especially because Hebrew does not have a present tense of the verb to be. Me'im, so again, prepositional mem, but also with, right? So this is something that doesn't really, translate. This is like twice, from with, right? From with, but It doesn't really translate into the English, but there is that im with as well. Havaya, that is the Tetragrammaton, which of course I will not actually pronounce, or even I usually don't pronounce any of the holy names. If somebody does want to hear the holy names, I can recite the full psalm, and we'll go ahead and pronounce the holy names as we pronounce them. We don't ever actually try to pronounce the Tetragrammaton as it is with its letters, according to its letters. It's usually said with something else. Oseh, so Ein Sin He, this is one of the, it means to make, right? And it's in the participle, so it's in the present tense. And this is something in Jewish theology we actually kind of stress, which is that that creation is actually an ongoing process. But so this is in the participle. It's not a complete action. It's a current action. Masculine, singular, common. I guess. Construct. Sorry, they're saying this is in a construct with Shemayim and Aretz. I'm not sure that makes a lot of sense. Yeah, I'm going to have to disagree with them. I don't think there's a construct here. They may be going on the cantillations, not being very musical. I was never capable of learning the cantillations. The only thing I can guess is that they're saying it's a construct because of the cantillation marks, which I do not know. Shamayim is heavens, and heaven is always in the plural in the Hebrew. Va'aretz, so conjunctive vav, and the reason it's changing to aretz is because it's at the end of a sentence. There is no article there, and eretz, obviously one of the ways we say land, the other one being adama. This is eretz, which is related to the root to run and will and desire. Okay, next. Let's go King James. My help cometh from the Lord, which made heaven and earth. So they put it actually in the past tense. NIV, my help comes from the Lord, the maker of heaven and earth. Yeah, I like that better. Let's see what Chabad does with it. My help is from the Lord, the maker of heaven and earth. Yep, that makes sense to me as well. Okay, next verse. Al yiten lamot raglecha, al yanum shomrecha. Okay, so there's two ways that we say no in Hebrew. Lo, which is the more common one. Al is kind of more of a command form of no. For example, in the Ten Commandments, thou shalt not, those are all owls, right? Yeah, al tahmod. Are they? I think so. I think they are. Now I might be confusing myself, sorry. Okay, al yiten. Ten is one of them really weird roots. I believe the roots, the root is nun, taf, nun. It's a very common root, but it's a very strange root. So it is in the call imperfect, third person masculine singular. So to put or to allow is fine. To position, right? To make maybe a little bit. Lamut actually I think means to trip. Let's see here. Shaking, pole, bar. Moot. Yeah. So you can look at your concordance there. It only shows up 6 times in the Bible. So you can look at your concordance there. But here, I would say in context, it means that for your feet to be tripped. Raglecha, so lamot, actually I was not expecting it to be bemilui vav if you're paying attention to that. Although, this shows up so few times, it's hard to know. But generally in Jewish exegesis, we say that if a word is written bemilui, that is the more complete form of it. We will say that it tends to indicate something good, whereas when it is written bechisaron in the lacking form, it is indicating something less good generally. And this is bemilui. Okay, raglecha. So regel, resh gimel lamed, is actually a regel. So the pilgrimage holidays are called regalim, and raglaim means legs or feet. There's no distinction in the Hebrew between feet and legs. So they're doing your foot, could be your leg. Raglecha, second person masculine singular, and this is singular of foot, not raglecha. Al, so again the not. Yanum, so the root here is a nun vav mem, I believe. Yes, which to be drowsy, to slumber. Again, you can look in. It only shows up 6 times in the Bible, which is not many times. You can look in your concordance for that, but it is in the imperfect third person masculine singular, and it is also bemilui as expected. Shomrecha, as expected, written bechisaron. The root here is shin mem resh, which means to guard or to keep, right? So it says in the 10 Commandments, keep the Sabbath. That is also shamor, has the same root. This is the participle masculine singular. It says it's in the construct because anytime you have that suffix there, it will always be in the construct form. So shomrecha, your, that's the second person masculine singular it's talking about. So your keeper, your guard. Let's see what King James does with this. He will not suffer thy foot to be moved. He that keepeth thee will not slumber. Okay. NIV, he will not let your foot slip. He who watches over you will not slumber. Yeah, I can see that as well. Chabad, he will not allow your foot to falter. Your guardian, capital G, will not slumber. I kind of like that better personally, but I oftentimes tend to side with Chabad. Okay. Hine lo yanum velo yishan shomer Israel. So hine is behold. It's an interjection. Shows up a lot in the Bible. It's an interjection. It's hard to translate interjections. Lo, meaning not. Yanum, again, like we had before, slumber. Velo yishan, so conjunctive vav. Lo, again, no. Yishan, the root here is shin vav non, I believe. No, it's yud shin non, to sleep. And it is in the imperfect, third person masculine singular. Shomer, so again, like we had shomrecha before, this time it's written b'milui. I believe in the previous thing it was, no, it was also, well, okay. In verse 3, it's bechisaron. In verse 4, it's b'milui. In verse 5, it is bechisaron again. So exact same word written slightly differently, because it doesn't have that ending there. But we do darshan the miluim and chisaron in the Hebrew. Okay, let's see. Verse 4, King James, behold, he that keepeth Israel shall neither slumber nor sleep. NIV, indeed, he who watches over Israel will neither slumber nor sleep. Yeah. And I do agree here. So they say that this is a construct, Shomer Israel is a construct of the two words. I do believe it is in the construct form, although I couldn't really tell you why. But yeah, so like I said before, constructs are chains in the Hebrew where where two or more words form kind of a new subject. Let's see, did we read the Chabad here? Behold, the guardian of Israel will neither slumber nor sleep. Yeah, so they also did it in the future as opposed to the present. So again, this is the imperfect, so however you want to translate that. Chabad is doing it in the future, the NIV and King James is doing it in the present. Verse 5, Havaya shomrecha, Havaya tzilcha al yad yaminecha. Okay, so the Tetragrammaton, and they're inferring the is because there is no present tense of the verb to be in Hebrew. Shomrecha, written bechisaron again, like we had it before, your keeper. Havaya tzilcha. So I would actually say that this is kind of a construct form, although, yeah, since it has the suffix, it can't really be a construct. But yeah, is, I guess, is the correct word to do there. But the Tetragrammaton, and tzel means a shade, right? Ged Tzal Mavet, the valley of the shadow of death. So this is tzel again. And this Tzadik Lamed may be a primitive root for side. Sla is what's translated as rib in Genesis when we talk about Adam's side or rib. So Tzilcha, God is, the Lord is your shade. This is the preposition with the ayin. Yad yaminecha. So sometimes the word hand isn't even, oftentimes yaminecha just, even without, the hand is implied, but here it is stated completely. So yamin means right. So yad yaminecha is your right hand. Okay, let's look at the King James, verse 5. The Lord is thy keeper, the Lord is thy shade upon thy right hand. NIV, the Lord watches you, over you, the Lord is your shade at your right hand. Okay, very similar. Chabad, the Lord is your guardian, the Lord is your shadow, he is by your right hand. So, I am guessing that, again, this is the cantillations which cause them to kind of put a pause there. You can, I mean, I would have loved to learn the cantillations, but I can't even hear them. I'm not musical enough to understand cantillation marks. But if you want to hear on YouTube, there are you can find most psalms actually being chanted according to the cantillation marks. And I'm guessing that that's where this little semicolon is coming from, is out of the cantillations. In fact, from the little I know of the cantillation marks, that dot kind of makes me think that's why they decided to put that semicolon there. Okay, next verse. Yomam hashemesh lo yakeka veyareach balayla. And in Hebrew school, the word yomam gets a lot of snickering. It means during the days. Yom means day, and it's pretty much always written be-milui. But yomam is days. It's kind of like an emphasis of yom, which means day. Ha-shemesh, with the article, shemesh meaning sun. Lo yakeka, so the root here is chaf chaf hey. I'm kind of surprised. I think this might be right. So, okay, so this is a little bit of a weird use. If you look in the unfolding word Hebrew grammar, you will notice that there are some really strange stems here. This is actually, I would say, probably a stem palel, right? So all of these are talking about the prototypical stem is pe ayin lamed, and this is a stem. It's a rare stem that's being used. You can take a look there and see what they say. Yeah, it's there are rare stems, right? We talk about the 7 binyanim, but here this is nun chaf hey is actually in a weird stem here, and they're calling it the hefil. I'm not sure this is correct. To strike you, so yakecha. This is a pretty strange word here. If you want to pay more attention to it, you can almost say that it may also be actually yakecha with a what's called a pedagogic hey, which is a poetic. So you have to remember these are psalms, and sometimes some things are just there because they sound better. So how exactly you want to translate that? In the English, I mean, it's pretty clear what it is saying, but in the Hebrew, it's a pretty strange thing here. Vayareach ba-laila. So conjunctive vav, yareach is one of the ways we say root. We say moon. It is not the common way that moon is said in the Bible at all. Moon oftentimes is chodesh, which kind of has a meaning of new. And this is slightly different. You can go ahead and take a look at your concordance. Yareach shows up how many times in the Bible? 26 times. So you can go ahead and look that up if you like. But it's not chodesh, which is what moon generally is. Ba-laila, so prepositional bet with the article in that vocalization, and laila means a night. Let's see what King James does here. Verse 6. The sun shall not smite thee by day, nor the moon by night. Yeah, I mean, the complexities in the Hebrew don't really translate to the English, which is why we do this. NIV, the sun will not harm you by day, nor the moon by night. Okay? Chabad, by day the sun will not smite you, nor will the moon at night. So they're kind of reading that will in there themselves. There's no actual verb in the Hebrew, and they tend to keep the word order as closely to the Hebrew as they can, oftentimes because when people who know some Hebrew are following along in the English, they will only look over to see words that they don't recognize. And yareach is kind of a rare word in the Hebrew. Okay, let's keep on going. Havaya yishmorcha mikol ra, yishmor et nafshecha. So, that is the Tetragrammaton, yishmorcha. Again, this is shin mem resh, and that is a kametz katan, which is because this has a suffix. I wouldn't read too much into the fact that that's a kametz katan, and there's no vav there. The root is obviously shin mem resh. It is in the imperfect of the simple form. Third person masculine singular, and the you there is also singular, as is throughout this psalm. So it's not all y'all, it's just you. Mi, kol, so prepositional mem, kol means all, and kol is pretty much always in the construct form. Ra is evil or bad. It is the precise same word as etz da'at tov v'ra, the tree of knowledge of good and evil, right? Yishmor et nafshecha. So again, the same root is being used over again. Shin mem resh. It is a bechisaron with and in the imperfect. Et is the direct object marker. I'm not sure we had the direct object marker yet. So there is no equivalent to the direct object marker in English. Spanish does have it. So usually this doesn't get translated at all. But in Judaism we do actually darshan them because sometimes they are used and sometimes they are not. So this is a marker that something is going on. And usually what we say is that it is an indication that the verse has not explicitly spoken about everything that's included there. So, for example, in the Ten Commandments, when it says kabed et avicha ve'et imecha, right? So the direct object marker is there for your mother and your father, and we darshan that to include your older siblings. So however you want to darshan that. Nefesh is one of the ways that we refer to the soul. It is considered the lowest form of the soul. Nun Pe Shin, your soul here. And yeah, let's take a look. King James, the Lord shall preserve thee from all evil. He shall preserve thy soul. NIV, the Lord will keep you from all harm. He will watch over your life. So they translated nefesh there as life as opposed to soul. Let's look at what Chabad does. The Lord will guard you from all evil. He will guard your soul. So they're also doing soul. Okay. And this is a pretty short psalm. last verse, Havaya yishmor tzetcha uvaecha me'ata va'ad olam. So, Havaya is the tetragrammaton, Yishmor, like we've had several times, and that dash there is a Masoretic note. Yeah. It's obviously not in the consonantal text. But Yishmor, so the root is Shin Mem Resh, again, like before. Tzeitcha is, the root is, I believe, Yud Tzadik, Aleph, to leave, to go out. Yes, Yud Tzadik Aleph, which is, it's a pretty common one. The Yud kind of absconds there. Tzeitcha, you're leaving, right? And it's in the call infinitive, they say, construct, they say. So you're going out, right? Yotze means to go out of. Uva voecha, right? So like we had in the first verse, Ma'ayin Yavo Ezri, right? This is again the same root, Bet Vav Aleph. A little bit surprised to see the milui there. Usually it's not written b'milui, it's usually written b'chisaron. So we have a conjunctive vav, and this is the call infinitive. They're saying boecha, you're coming. Second person masculine singular. Me'ata. So it's a prepositional mem. Et means a time. Ata means this time, from right now, right? Yeah. The ad, so conjunctive vav again. Ad is a preposition meaning onto or till. Olam literally means world, but ad olam means forever. It's a very common expression in the Bible, but it literally means for the world, as long as the world is, kind of, I guess. And as normal, it is written with milui vav. Okay, let's see, King James. The Lord shall preserve thy going out and thy coming in from this time forth and even forevermore. Okay. NIV, the Lord will watch. So notice, I mean, all of these, we use the same root, shin mem resh, over and over again, and you'll see that they're translating it in different ways. However you want to do it, but the root, it stays the same in the Hebrew. Over your coming and going, both now and forevermore. Okay. Chabad. The Lord will guard your going out and your coming in from now and to eternity. Yeah, I mean, I think this is a very simple psalm. I chose it kind of because we are experimenting with so much new software and new things. If anybody has any questions, I would be more than happy to entertain them. Anything people want to say, either in the text chat, go ahead and type it in the text chat there, or in the YouTube chat, or please feel free to speak up if you are in the voice chat on Discord. Everybody's so shy. either that or I messed things up and I can't hear anybody speaking, which is also a possibility. This has been a little experiment. I've been using a lot of new software and a lot of new things that I'm not particularly very knowledgeable about. Well, I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and finish out, as I always do, with the verse Zephaniah 3:9. And then once I stop the stream, maybe people will no longer be so shy. I'm actually very flattered so many people showed up. So Zephaniah 3:9, Ki az epoch el amim safa berura likro chulam b'shem havaya la'ovdo shem echad. And thus I will turn over upon the nations a clear language, so that all of them may call in the name of God to serve him with literally one shoulder, but with one accord. So we have a question. Hi Jacob, are constructor similar to compound or hyphenated forms in English? That's a good question. I would generally say not, because in Hebrew, you have to realize that Hebrew only has so many. Let me switch over to. So, if anybody wants to see my not so great face, they can. So in Hebrew, there's only so many different roots, right? So there are 22 letters and 3 root combinations of them, and it's pretty limited how many words there are in Hebrew, and biblical Hebrew. I mean, it's very limited. So a lot of times, I think the construct form was used in order to create a new idea, right? So, for example, the most common example that's given is Bait means house, Sefer means book, Beit Sefer means library. Bait means house, Mikdash means a place of holiness. So a house of holiness, that's the temple, right? Beit Mikdash. So what I generally say is that when you have a construct chain in the Hebrew, the smichut, what you're getting is you're getting several words being put together, sometimes to make something completely different. Like, for example, Gates Hamavet, right? The valley of the shadow of death, right? In the Hebrew, it has a different, oftentimes they just put ofs in there, right? Valley of shadow of death, right? I don't think it really gives you the full understanding there. So, yeah, that's constructs. Did somebody in the voice chat? Nope, I am not seeing anything in the chat on Discord. So